What's up, pageant patrons? This is Isaac, and thank you for watching today's video. I got the opportunity to watch the national costume for the Miss Universe Philippines 2024 pageant. And when I say that it was creative overload, that might just be an understatement. The creativity displayed at this pageant was absolutely phenomenal, and that is probably an understatement. I enjoyed it immensely. It was so fun to watch all of these artists put their creative talents to use, and it was great to watch the contestants perform in their costumes. Some of them did a pretty good job, some of them it was it was okay. And so I just have to say congratulations to all of the designers. It was a job well done. It was great to watch. And so I just picked out a few of my favorites. I think I probably have about 15 or so that I want to just show you. While difficult to put together, I did find several that I liked, and I liked quite a few more than the ones that I have chosen. So I'll tell you the few that I liked, and then the three winners, I will save my commentary for those at the end. But to start off my list, I gotta give it to Miss Australia. She had this wonderful aqua blue sort of peacock looking design. And so I just enjoyed the way that it looked. And so, but I think the designers at the back, it was just a black canvas. And I think they probably missed an opportunity to showcase more of their creation with just that black canvas, especially when she turned around to walk off the stage. But overall, just a great design, and she carried it well. My next design that I liked was VVV Miss Bakuur. When she came out, at first I was like, this is a very interesting look. And then because it had this white butterfly motif, and which represented the souls of the dead, if I'm not mistaken. And so, but the way that she carried it, she has this naturally gorgeous face about her. And I tell you, she did a fantastic job carrying that design. Very creative, very interesting look, but because of how she carries herself, she carried it very well. Miss Baguio Terra Valencia had a very interesting design that I like. It's actually very simple. She had a lioness mask, and on the back, when she turned around, it had sunflowers. And so a very simple design, a very safe design for her, and but she carried it well. Just like VVV, she has Terra Valencia has this gorgeous face, and she has this ability just to carry that well. So even though her costume was very simple, it still made an impact. And so again, it was just a design that I really liked. While I had not noticed her before, Natasha Bajuyo from Bukidnon had this huge flower with birds flapping on the end. A very creative design, and while it was simple, I think because it was so huge on her, and it was like, oh my God, is she gonna fall? But I think she did a great job handling that huge design. And then also, I got to give credit to the designer. I think that's one of the largest flowers there is, and they did a great job sort of showing that. And you know, a little nice, a nice extra were the birds on the end that were actually flapping their wings. When I think about a national costume, the costume has to show some elements about the country that someone who may not know that country can really recognize. And I tell you what, when this one came out, this was literally in your face. Because why? It had the carabao head, it had the birds, it had the fauna, just so easy to recognize as a national costume. Those elements that the Philippines is known for was represented in this costume. So I've got to give it to Miss Cabanatuan Daniela Villar, and I think she just did a great job carrying it, and the designer simply did a great job because it was so easy to recognize and say, hey, this is what the Philippines is known for. Raytheana Rosie had this wonderful design, this flair that when she came out on stage. And then the announcer said it's sort of like rising from the fire like a phoenix. And I think they really did a really good representation of that from this simple color that they had, and it was just wonderful to see. Again, another of those simple designs that you can tell. Sometimes I think simplicity is more. When you have a whole bunch of stuff and people don't really understand, what is that trying to represent? This case, it was very easy to see. Again, those designs that really say that this is a national costume and this is what it represents. So a great job on that. Miss Knight, Mary Rose Guidall, sort of reminded me of Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. Like, she's the lost one. If you look at her design, the shield and stuff, it was the shell of sea turtles, basically reminding us that we've got to take care of the endangered sea turtle. But it was just fun to see. She was kind of reminded me of the lost Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. So again, another one of those simple designs that was just fun to watch. One of my favorite colors is purple. And when Miss Palawan Raven Doctor came out and she had this absolutely gorgeous purple gown, I was like, okay, nothing special about it. Until you watch her walk and how she presents that gown. She has these wonderful slow movements. She takes her time, but because she is so elegant, this traditional costume looks so elegant on her. And while it's not flashy, it is still absolutely gorgeous on her. So just a great job, Miss Palawan. You already know that I was curious about Atisa Manalo, but I went ahead and I added her to this list because I did like her costume. She had flags and she had this wonderful plumage going on with her, on top of her head. And it looked really good. That wonderful sort of lime green color. It was gorgeous on her. I do believe that this was, like I said about another contestant, this is probably a safe costume for her. She wore it well, and I knew she would, and she's a pageant veteran, and she can command the stage. Again, she made it look good, and so just congrats to her on a very safe but elegant performance. Miss Shirgal, Joshelle de Ocampo, had one of those costumes that just easily recognizable. It's a crab and just reminds us that we've got to take care of marine wildlife. Loved it. Reminded me of, I want to say it was Ariel. It's a Disney movie, Under the Sea. That's it. Reminded me of that, and it's just a fun costume. Again, making sure that since it is a national costume, that we are really able to connect those ideas of the Philippines. And again, another one of those costumes that I liked. This huge pink flower that was very intricately designed came out on stage, and at first I was like, I don't really know if I like this, but that was Miss Mariveles Ellie Holman. And then I started to like it just within the few seconds of watching her. And maybe it was just the intricate design of the costume or her presentation or a combination of both. But I really, in just those few seconds, I went from kind of sort of liking it to like, okay, it's very nice. Naturally not a winner in my eye, but very nice indeed. So got to give credit to her and the designer. Quezon City Camille Lagme came out, and I was looking at all of this stuff on her shoulders, and I was like, I know what the announcer said about it, but it almost had this futuristic look about it that I like, reminding us about the future. And again, I know good and well that is not probably what the designer meant, but it sort of reminded me of sort of like a cosmonaut or something like that from outer space. It was just a cool design that I really did like. One of the more interesting costumes that I liked was Miss Zambales, Anita Gomez, and she had this, now I want to make sure that I get it right, she had this lion mask, and it had zebra heads, and it had peacocks on it. And it was a little bit unusual, probably why I liked it. And it reminds us about wildlife conservation. But I have to give it to the designer. They did this wonderful job of syncing these elements together and really coming up with an unusual but very effective piece. All right, patrons, as promised, I'm saving a little bit more commentary for the three winners. Third place was Miss Tacloban Tamara OCA. And I tell you what, I liked this design. She had this monitor lizard on her hand, and she was, walking around and just really having a little bit of fun with it. I enjoyed the design. I think she did a great job. I thought it was crafted well, and I totally understand how this could be considered a national costume. So congrats to her, and congrats to the designer. Second place winner was Alexi Brooks, Miss Ilo Ilo, and she probably got more audience participation than probably anyone else. I thought the design was great. I thought her presentation was flawless. I actually enjoyed watching her performance in her costume. I simply have one question, and hopefully some of you can answer this for me. How is that considered a national costume? I didn't really understand how the spider and Ilo City went together. I understood what the announcer was saying about the idea of the whole spider thing. But if I were to look just at the costume itself, what does that tell me about the Philippines? That's the issue that I have. Is it a great costume? Yes. Was her presentation flawless? Again, the answer is yes. But hopefully somebody can help me understand a little bit further about, how is that a national costume? Please let me know in the comments. I'm all the way over here in the States, and so I simply don't know. So please let me know. And the winner of the national costume was Jet Hammond, Miss Southern California. When you look at the design of this costume, it was flawless. I mean, it was flawless. It had a bunch of shells on it. It was absolutely wonderful. You can actually see how that could be considered a national costume. The headdress was gorgeous. I really did enjoy the costume itself. When I watched her presentation, her facial features, she didn't smile the whole time. Her costume looked heavy. It looked cumbersome. She looked uncomfortable. I don't know if presentation matters. Maybe it doesn't. All I know is the costume itself, I have to give it to the designer, gorgeous. The presentation was a bit lackluster for me. It just looked cumbersome to me. She could barely move. And again, I don't know if presentation, they give points for that. Obviously not, because she won. So I will give credit for that. Let me know what you think in the comments. And if you made it this far, just let me say thank you for sticking around. Thank you for hanging in there with me. And I certainly do appreciate all of the support that I get from you guys. Really do appreciate it. Consider giving me a like. Certainly would appreciate it. You guys take care. This is Isaac. Peace.